Back when we were kids, we all had dreams of being our favorite superheroes when we grow up. Now, whether we actually followed through with those dreams or not is another story, but for the most part, we had dreams. And I know it's been said a million times, but the Spider-Man games we've gotten in the last several years make it that much closer to actually being Spider-Man, swinging through this beautiful and thus unrealistic Manhattan, enjoying the sunset in the city as Sunflower plays in the background. These games are really so close to reality, but in this video, we'll be turning our attention to something else. 2010, bear with me, was a big year for video games. I mean, it wasn't any 2020, but hey. God of War 3, Mass Effect 2, and Civilization 5, and Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. This game is amazing. 100% one of the greatest Spider-Man games ever created. Built up around some of the most iconic and coolest versions of Spider-Man out there, it makes the most out of it. Whether it's using stealth and sneaking around as Spider-Man Noir, or flying through the futuristic city of Spider-Man 2099, this game rocks. Though it got amazing ratings, it never really took off. But with a recent spike in interest for Spidey games, because they're making a new one, I think. Okay, actually I don't know why I'm making this video now. Stick with me as we dive into this shattered world, because the questions remain and the answers await. What makes Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions a hidden gem? Don't forget to subscribe. So it's no secret that the 2018 Spider-Man game was a huge hit. So popular, in fact, that they took a risk of making a spin-off centered around Miles Morales, who was only really known for like the Spider-Verse movie at that point, and the game worked. I mean, of course it did. Centered around Marvel's most popular superhero, beautiful graphics, a gripping story, and a massive city to explore, these games are, simply put, beautiful. Now let's turn our attention to 2010. Inception, the world's tallest building, opened up in Dubai, and 206 million gallons of oil spilled into the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, not the coolest, but in the midst of all this madness, we got a game, Yakuza 3, and Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, but Yakuza. Shattered Dimensions did something that, especially these days, is very hard to pull off. Anybody who knows about Spider-Man, or even Marvel, or I mean, DC at this point, this is all a mess. You know that there's multiple versions of, well, reality itself. And with this mess, we get a whole pantheon of Spider-Men. Ugh. Some of the lame ones are Spider-Man, Spider-Moon-Man, I wish I was making that one up, Spider-Girl, I mean, what the heck, Spider-Ling, that's just gross. Silk? Okay, that one's actually kind of cool. And some of the coolest Spider-Mans are Spider-Man Noir, Peter Parker, I mean, you can't get wrong with Peter, Scarlet Spider, Black Cat, and my favorite, by far, Spider-Man 2099. I love this guy since I was a kid. Now, Shattered Dimensions takes full advantage of this and grabs a handful of some of the coolest Spider-Mens out there. Peter Parker, Spider-Man Noir, Venom Spider-Man, or whatever, and of course, Spider-Man 2099. Whereas most of the stuff these days would mess it up, Shattered Dimensions absolutely rocks. The story goes a little something like this. In the Peter Parker universe, Mysterio is after some rune thing that, once he gets his hands on all the shards, will unlock the ultimate power or whatever. Turns out the pieces of this rune are spread across different dimensions, and said dimensions all have a Spider-Man guarding and protecting them. I think you can see where we're going with this one. At different times throughout the game, you have to fight and protect to keep the shards of this rune thing from the evil hands of Mysterio. It's a simple yet effective story. Oh, guys, I'm sorry you have to hear this. Hey, Mario. Hey, can I help you? I'm just smoking a cigarette in an alley behind Motel 6, and I was thinking, I can't keep doing this. Oh man, I'm sorry, like, do what exactly? Living like this. I need some money, or I'm not gonna make it. Jeez, yikes, I mean, oh, what the heck, how much, man? $36K and $20 bills behind the Waffle House and Applebee's on Ferry Street at 9:45 p.m. on any Friday. Just subscribe. Now, I've heard some complaints over there not being enough of the story prevalent in the game. A lot of the people say there's too much time between story scenes. I can actually take up both sides of this. I do like some story in my games, but I don't need it. And in the end, it all works out. With each version of Spider-Man comes the different versions of his villains. Well, the game does a great job of making sure we're not fighting White Rabbit over and over and over again, but even cooler is the fact that, while for the most part these Spideys all fight the same villains, they're different versions of the villains. The Peter Parker version of Hammerhead is a somewhat, I may emphasize somewhat, decent looking guy, but the Spider-Man Noir's hammerhead is this freak. See, Shattered Dimensions dared to do something unique and cool, to really have fun with these different versions of Spider-Man and their worlds. Each of the worlds we play in has interesting playstyles. While Peter Parker is more of the classic Spider-Man we know, Noir relies on the shadows and stealth to take out his enemies. Venom Spider-Man has the power of brute strength, and Spider-Man 2099 is amplified with the crazy futuristic technology and battlefields, creating some awesome and memorable scenes. You can genuinely tell that they had some fun making this game. As well as the crazy cool different combat styles, bosses are where this game really sets up shop. Similar to Sekiro, bosses are littered all over the place. Now, we've already discussed how the game takes full advantage of the different realities and plays with them. The bosses follow this through, of course, but the cool thing is, it's in these boss fights where we really get to see the cool and epicness of this world, like zooming through the city of 2099. On top of all of this, the one thing that keeps a lot of people from playing older games is the graphics. While it does lack in a few places, for the most part, the game is amazing. They used a really cool art style for this game that has some aspects of like the Borderlands games, so when it comes to the graphics of this game, it's just fine, even though it was released 13 years ago. Now, you're probably thinking that this has got to be the greatest video game ever created. If that's the case, then I need to make sure that Elden Ring stays on the top. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions suffers from a couple common problems. We've already talked about the complaints over the lack of story, but another reoccurring problem is most of the gameplay being very repetitive and full of busy work. A few bugs here and there with varying anger-inducing levels, and the camera is a little messed up whenever you climb onto a ceiling. But in the end, it's great. Simply put, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions pulled something off that in most cases would be a massive mess, and in the end, it all worked out amazingly. The game was a fun turnaround to every corner with a new vision of your favorite Spider-Man villains. Though this game was released all the way back in 13, it's still the best shot we get at all these awesome visions of Spider-Man until the new Spider-Verse movie. It's a simple yet effective game. You know, a while ago I was swinging around Manhattan when all of a sudden, as soon as I reached the top of this building, Margaret the Fell Omen was there. It was like a massive jump scare, and he said, "I have to show you something." And then, something happened. Elden Ring, the greatest video game ever created, hit me in the face like a 14-ton freight train. And as it passed on, I was left wondering, why isn't every single human being playing this game right now? So I'm here to tell you, play Elden Ring today. After I started playing, I changed. I evolved into the next step of human. Join us, Tarnished. Don't forget to subscribe. So, what do you think? Spider-Man games have a specialness that other games fail to achieve, and I've gotta say, Shattered Dimensions is amazing. I highly recommend this game to any Spider fans or any other gamers in general, and don't get scared over the fact that it's released over a decade ago. It's still amazing, and the graphics are fine. I don't know about you, but Season 2 is stinking awesome so far. I've got so much more coming soon. If you have any ideas on future hidden gem videos, I'm open for pitches. I love you guys, I hope you have a great rest of the day, and remember, life is short. Play great games. If I could magically jump into any video game universe without a second of doubt, it would have to be Mass Effect, along with some other places. Reapers aside, Mass Effect did something that most games, movies, and TV shows struggle with, creating something different. Not only is the Citadel full of new and unique looking aliens, but they actually pulled